I didn't anticipate that I would start off this show talking about one of my favorite all-time players, not necessarily because of how he played, although he was good, but because of his name, TJ Houshmandzadeh. I can spell it. I'm glad that he's back in our collective consciousness because he's connected to Brandon Aiyuk. He's his personal wide receiver coach, and sometimes he goes on TV. Went on TV recently and said that Brock Purdy is overpaid, that he would have paid him no more than $47 million a year, that when the team needed him to carry him last year, he's 1-6 against playoff teams. Do you agree with Mr. Houshmandzadeh, and do you think that maybe he's speaking for others on the team?
Can you prove that you can spell it?
Houshmandzadeh. Houshmandzadeh.
I don't even know if you're right.
Confirm that he's right or wrong. Yeah,
I was right.
I'm going to confirm if he's right
There's
or wrong.
a D in
I'm
there.
Not. As far as is the Houshmandzadeh thing, I find it interesting. First thing I thought was you're full of it, because if that's the expectation, then almost no quarterbacks live up to that expectation. No quarterback, how many guys are not winning Super Bowls that are getting paid lots of money? So I guess everybody pretty much falls short of the standard that you're setting. And then after I thought about it a little bit, I'm like, this is even more strange because this is Aiyuk's personal trainer. So is this the way that Aiyuk feels? I don't know. I guess it's tough because Houshmandzadeh is a personality on TV as well. So I don't know that that's necessarily a Brandon Aiyuk opinion. Although if it's not a Brandon Aiyuk opinion, then he probably should pick up the phone pretty quickly and let Brock Purdy know that it is not his opinion. As far as the contract goes, listen, signing Brock Purdy long-term was not number one favorite thing that they could have done. But once the contract came out, I'm totally fine with the way that it's structured. I'm fine with the money. I don't think that it's structured in a way that the 49ers have to absolutely rely on Brock Purdy and they can't put a team around him. The 49ers can still put a lot of talented players around Brock Purdy. They can still win with him on this contract. And this contract to me doesn't scream, we're riding your coattails, you better be the guy. This contract screams, be even keel, don't make a ton of mistakes. If we put the right team around you, we can win a Super Bowl. And that's the way that I see it. I think that there's a lot of ways that Brock Purdy can live up to the expectations of this contract that don't include necessarily winning a Super Bowl.
Were you gonna go, Ryan?
No, go ahead.
Okay. For me, he just is kind of showing his age. And one of the biggest things about older players who talk about way back when or what expectations are supposed to be, they never look at when they played, and really, if you want to look at a quarterback who got a shit ton of money and who was not available for long stretches of his career, it would be the quarterback that he had, Carson Palmer. All right, who had multiple injuries throughout his career while getting paid big money, what would be the equivalent of big money today. I just think that this is revisionist history, a little bit of him kind of like building his own narrative in his own head about what he thinks Brock should be. Like Jessie said, nobody can live up to his standard of, you're not worth your money if you don't win a Super Bowl. I mean, then Carson Palmer, I think he made just under $180 million in career money, and he never won a Super Bowl. So what are you saying right now with your own premise? He's kind of backing himself into a corner. I do believe that, loose lips sink ships, and sometimes there are some Freudian slips. That was a bar, but the reason why I say that is because of him having Brandon Aiyuk on his Brandon Aiyuk as one of the people that he trains in. Yes, you do talk about the overall attitude, and he knows politics. And we do remember that TJ Houshmandzadeh was giving Brandon Aiyuk advice not to play with Brock Purdy. He could play somewhere else. when he was in his contract negotiation. So this is just more of what we already know, but just coming through a social media form.
Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use promo code Cohn, COHN, and download the app now.
Yeah, I'm going to start off by saying being a good athlete means you're very athletic. Doesn't necessarily mean that your takes are intelligent or smart. Not that he's not an intelligent person. I don't know him well enough to say that, but I think a lot of times, fans, people weigh heavy on what former athletes say, but what former athletes say is not always correct. Now, I think when he went on talking about this, he was talking about I wouldn't have paid him more than $47 million, I believe is what he said. I said $49 million. That's what I said all offseason. So me and him aren't that far off there. But when the details come out about Brock Purdy's contract, and if you look at it as a 6-year, because essentially it is, I know that's kind of like debatable subject, but if you look at it on a 6-year basis, it is what, $46 million roughly. So I think also the other thing that I see from a lot of old head athletes, former athletes, is they're a little envious, jealous of the way these young guys are getting paid now. I think that's part of it, right? Yeah. Like a lot of these guys are getting paid way more than these old heads got paid, and I think that's part of the perspective, part of the bias when they make comments like this. As far as like Brandon Aiyuk's concerned, it could definitely be his perspective as well. It wouldn't surprise me if it was, just because of some of the actions that Brandon Aiyuk took and some of the things he did say, even though he didn't say that much. But, again, we don't know that that's his opinion just because TJ said it.
Yeah, I do find it interesting, though, because, like, when Purdy got his extension, got a lot of, teammates reach out and post things on social media. Congratulations, like Lenore did. Debo did. He isn't even on the Niners anymore. You know who didn't? Aiyuk. You know what Aiyuk wrote that day? Thinking about buying a new car.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, man. Something about Brandon, I don't know. He really took a real turn. He doesn't seem that sold out to be on this team anymore. I mean, he made it real clear that he was open to being on the Steelers or the Commanders or wherever. And I don't know that you can like take that back. So, but I guess that's sort of secondary to like, is he actually overpaid? You could argue like, nah, man, this is the market. It is what it is. And if you wanted to give him an extension, this is what it is. My only question is like, why did the Niners feel? Why is it the prevailing wisdom that if a quarterback wants an extension, you have to give it to him? Like, what if they just said no extension? You're still our quarterback. You're still under contract. You're still our starter, man. But we'll have this conversation next year because you just went 6 games and do 20 touchdown passes. Like, we don't give extensions. We don't reward performances like that. And just because you're eligible for an extension doesn't mean that we're going to give it to you now. What was he going to do? Hold out? Not play football? I don't understand why that was the only option. I guess that's my question.
I don't think it was the only option. The way the deal rolled out almost kind of says that it's the antithesis of the only option. I think they weighed many options, and you see them in the deal. Brock gets his money up front. He also has a no trade clause. The Niners get low hits on their on the salary cap right away. I believe that this was more of a conversation, and this is something that we hearken to later when he wasn't getting paid on. What was the attitude, right? Especially when we heard about Brock getting the $60 million, right? Where there were overtures from Brock's side that he reportedly wanted that type of money, and we were asking, like, man, is Brock going to be that tone deaf to really hamstring the Niners just because the market says he can? Or are they going to really have a conversation and say, look, this is how we came into the deal. You helped us out, but we also elevated your persona and we developed you. Let's meet in the middle. And I think they did.
Yeah, I was just going to say a couple of things that you talked about. My opinion of Brandon Aiyuk definitely shifted during his contract negotiation that whole offseason. He was one of my favorite players on the team. I don't like the way he handled his business during that offseason. So my opinion of him has changed quite a bit since then. And then when you look at the cap hits, Brock Purdy's cap hits by season, 2025, $9 million, 2026, $24 million, 2027, $30 million. and then you think about what he's made so far, and then they have the option to get out of it. Like, I was not really for giving Brock a contract because I thought it was going to be some crazy, like, set the market, huge cap hit thing. They did this contract so beautifully. Like, I think it's just a dumb argument on TJ's part right now, to be real.
All right. Fair enough. Sorry, TJ. You didn't get a lot of support on this one.